Life constantly presents us with challenges, and one of the greatest of these is learning how to maintain control over our emotions in the face of provocation. It is natural to feel anger, frustration, or irritation when people say things that hurt us or behave in ways that seem unfair. But what we often fail to realize is that anger is not created by others, it is generated within us. People may trigger situations, but the choice to respond with calmness or with rage lies entirely in our own hands. When we embrace the truth that our reaction is our responsibility, we unlock the door to a life of emotional freedom. Imagine walking into a room where someone insults you or belittles you in front of others. Instantly, a rush of heat rises inside you, your chest tightens, and your mind starts forming words of defense or retaliation. This is the automatic reaction most people experience, but at this very moment you stand at a crossroads. You can allow the words of another person to dictate your emotional state, or you can pause, take control, and choose to protect your peace. The first path leads to anger, arguments, and regret. The second leads to strength, dignity, and unshakable calm. The problem is that many people believe others make them angry. They say, "He ruined my day," or "She got under my skin," but nobody can enter your mind and press a button labeled anger. That button exists only in you, and only you can decide whether or not it is pressed. When you truly internalize this idea, life changes. You stop being a puppet controlled by other people's behavior, and you start becoming the master of your own emotional world. Think about it. If you let every rude comment, every impatient driver, every careless word from a friend determine how you feel, then you are giving away your power. You are allowing strangers and situations to dictate whether you are happy or upset. Is that really the kind of life you want to live? One where your inner peace is at the mercy of others? Or would you rather live in a way where no one can disturb you, because you have built a fortress of calm within yourself? Taking responsibility for your reactions is the first step toward building that fortress. Now, taking responsibility does not mean suppressing your feelings or pretending you don't feel hurt. It means acknowledging that feelings arise, but also understanding that you have the choice not to let them dominate you. A person may insult you once, but if you allow anger to control you, you repeat that insult in your mind 1,000 times. By doing so, you give more energy to the very person you claim has wronged you. When you take responsibility, you stop giving power away. You accept that while you cannot control what people say or do, you can absolutely control the meaning you attach to their behavior and the way you respond to it. Consider how often anger blinds people. Someone cuts in line at the store, and suddenly the day is ruined. A colleague makes a sarcastic remark, and hours later it is still echoing in the mind. This is what happens when we fail to take ownership of our reactions. The external world throws its chaos at us, and we willingly carry it inside like a burden. But you do not need to carry that weight. You can choose to set it down, to say, "This is not mine to hold." That choice is yours, and it is the difference between peace and turmoil. There is great wisdom in realizing that life will always be filled with difficult people. Some will be rude, others will be selfish, and many will act out of their own pain and insecurity. You cannot stop them from behaving as they do, but you can stop them from stealing your peace. The truth is, no one can disturb your calm unless you hand them permission, and permission is something you must never give away. When you take ownership of your reactions, you create a shield around yourself. The storms of life may rage, but inside, you remain steady and unshaken. One of the best ways to practice this is to insert a pause between stimulus and response. When someone provokes you, do not respond immediately. Breathe, step back mentally and ask yourself, what response will serve me best in this moment? Most often, silence or calm words are far more powerful than anger. In fact, silence disarms people in ways rage never can. Anger feeds conflict, but calmness dissolves it. By pausing, you regain control over your reaction, and in doing so, you reclaim your power. Another important aspect of taking responsibility is shifting perspective. When someone says something hurtful, instead of instantly reacting, ask yourself why their words should matter so much. Often, the people who criticize or insult are projecting their own struggles. Their words reflect who they are, not who you are. If you understand this, you will stop taking things so personally. Their negativity is their burden, not yours. When you refuse to absorb it, you remain free. This does not mean you should allow people to mistreat you. It means you respond with strength instead of anger. Strength is calmly setting boundaries without losing control of yourself. Anger may feel like power in the moment, but it usually leads to regret later. True power is calm, steady, and deliberate. It is the power of someone who knows their worth and refuses to let anyone shake it. By taking responsibility for your reaction, you show others that your emotions are not toys for them to play with. Think of a mirror. If someone makes a face in front of it, the mirror reflects but does not become disturbed. It simply shows what is placed before it. You can learn to be like that mirror, aware of people's behavior, but not emotionally trapped by it. You can see the rudeness or negativity, but instead of reacting with anger, you can reflect back dignity and calm. Over time, people will respect you more, because calmness commands respect in a way anger never will. It is also essential to understand the cost of anger. Anger drains energy, poisons relationships, and clouds judgment. How many times have people said things in anger that they later regret? Words once spoken cannot be taken back. By not taking responsibility for their reactions, they lose control and create damage that may take years to repair. On the other hand, when you choose calmness, you save yourself from regret. You protect your relationships, your dignity, and your inner peace. That is the true reward of owning your reaction. Taking responsibility also requires self-awareness. Pay attention to the triggers that make you angry. Is it when someone disrespects you, when you feel ignored? When you are tired or stressed? The more you know about your triggers, the more you can prepare yourself in advance. Then, when the moment comes, you are not caught off guard. You can respond intentionally instead of reacting blindly. Self-awareness is the foundation of emotional control. There is also a spiritual dimension to this idea. When you take ownership of your reaction, you rise above the level of petty conflicts. You realize that your peace is too precious to be wasted on trivial matters. You understand that every moment spent in anger is a moment stolen from your happiness. Life is short, and wasting it on anger is like throwing away gold for dust. By choosing calmness, you honor the gift of life and use it to grow instead of allowing it to be drained by negativity. Let us also remember that not reacting with anger is not just for our own benefit, but also for the benefit of those around us. Children learn by watching adults. Colleagues are influenced by the way leaders respond to stress. When you take responsibility for your reactions, you set an example of strength for others. You show them that it is possible to remain calm even when tested. This ripple effect can inspire people around you to manage their own emotions better. It is worth practicing this idea in small situations first. Start with daily irritations, the traffic jam, the slow internet, the spilled coffee. If you can master your reaction in these small trials, you will build the muscle of calmness for larger challenges. Every time you choose not to get angry, you strengthen yourself. Over time, this strength becomes second nature, and people will notice a serenity in you that nothing can shake. The journey to mastering your reactions is not easy. Anger is a habit, and like all habits, it takes time to break, but every moment of practice counts. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you grow. Each time you choose calmness, you win, and eventually, you will look back and realize that things which once bothered you no longer touch you. That is the freedom of emotional mastery, and it begins with a single truth: your reaction is your responsibility. There comes a point in life when you realize that holding on too tightly to the opinions, judgments, and actions of others only leads to suffering. We grow up believing that we must constantly react to what happens around us, as if the outer world controls the inner world. Yet true peace begins when you understand that you are not obligated to carry everything people throw at you. Detachment is the shield that allows you to live with dignity, clarity, and serenity, even when the world tries to disturb your balance. Detachment does not mean becoming cold, indifferent, or uncaring. It does not mean cutting off all emotions or living like a stone. Detachment simply means refusing to let the behavior of others dictate your inner state. It is the art of stepping back, observing, and choosing what truly deserves your energy. When you master detachment, you stop being tossed around like a leaf in the wind of other people's moods and actions. Instead, you stand firm, rooted, and unshaken like a tree that cannot be moved by passing storms. To understand detachment, imagine your mind as a still lake. Every word, every insult, every provocation from others is like a stone thrown into it. If you are attached to every stone, you will watch your lake ripple endlessly, never finding peace. But if you learn to let the stones sink without clinging to them, the lake soon returns to calmness. The stones are still there, but they no longer disturb the surface. This is what detachment gives you, the ability to let go quickly and return to inner stillness. The truth is, people will always behave in ways you cannot control. Some will misunderstand you, some will criticize you, and others will treat you unfairly. If you cling to their actions or take everything personally, you hand them the power to disturb your peace. Detachment teaches you to say, "This belongs to them, not to me." Their words, their negativity, their actions are a reflection of their world, not yours. The moment you stop taking ownership of what isn't yours, you free yourself. Think about how much energy is wasted when you are attached to every comment, every opinion, every look from others. Someone ignores your message and you spend hours wondering why. Someone makes a careless remark and you replay it in your head all day. This attachment to the behavior of others steals your focus, drains your energy, and robs you of joy. Detachment teaches you that you don't need to chase explanations or carry grudges. You simply let things be as they are, and in doing so, you regain your time, your clarity, and your power. It is easy to misunderstand detachment as weakness, but in truth, it is the highest form of strength. Anyone can get angry, anyone can get offended, anyone can be shaken by words. But it takes tremendous strength to remain calm when provoked, to remain kind when insulted, and to remain centered when tested. Detachment allows you to meet life with equanimity, no matter what storms arise. It is not about suppressing emotions, but about mastering them, so that they no longer master you. Detachment also means recognizing that you cannot control everything. Most of the stress people experience comes from trying to control what lies beyond their reach. They want others to like them, respect them, agree with them, or behave according to their expectations. But life does not work that way. People will think what they want to think, say what they want to say, and do what they want to do. When you accept this truth, you stop wasting energy fighting the uncontrollable. Detachment means letting go of the illusion of control and focusing instead on the only thing you truly command: your own actions, your own responses, your own peace. One of the greatest lessons of detachment is that not everything deserves a reaction. The world is full of noise, but not all noise is worth listening to. Someone may mock you, but you don't have to defend yourself. Someone may spread rumors, but you don't have to prove them wrong. Someone may underestimate you, but you don't have to convince them of your worth. Silence, in the face of provocation, is not surrender. It is wisdom. It is the ability to rise above what does not matter and save your energy for what does. Detachment is the art of choosing wisely where to place your attention and where to withhold it. There is a story about a monk who was insulted by a man on the street. The monk simply smiled and walked away. A disciple asked, "Why did you not respond?" The monk replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The disciple said, "To the giver." The monk said, "Exactly. Insults are gifts I do not accept." This is the essence of detachment. When you stop accepting the negativity of others, you stop carrying it within yourself. Detachment also requires self-respect. When you are attached to the approval of others, you become dependent on them for your sense of worth. Their praise lifts you, and their criticism destroys you. But when you respect yourself deeply, you no longer need the validation of others to feel whole. Detachment gives you independence from external validation. You stop chasing acceptance, and instead, you find peace within your own being. This does not mean you isolate yourself or cut off connections. It simply means you engage with the world without becoming enslaved by it. You can love deeply without being possessive. You can work passionately without being consumed. And you can interact freely without being controlled by others' opinions. This is healthy detachment, a balanced state where you remain connected yet free, involved yet unshaken. Practicing detachment requires patience and awareness. It begins by observing your reactions. Notice when you feel the urge to retaliate, defend, or explain yourself unnecessarily. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Most of the time, the answer will be no. Slowly, you learn to let go, to walk away, to release the weight of unnecessary battles. This does not make you passive. It makes you wise enough to know that not all battles are worth fighting. Detachment also transforms relationships. When you are attached to controlling others, you suffocate them. You expect them to behave a certain way, and when they don't, you become angry. But when you practice detachment, you allow people the freedom to be themselves. You stop trying to control them and start accepting them as they are. This creates healthier, more authentic connections because they are built on acceptance, not control. Detachment is also a form of self-protection. The world can be harsh and people can be unkind. If you take everything personally, you will constantly be wounded. But when you detach, you build an invisible armor around your heart. You hear the words, you see the actions, but they no longer pierce you. You become like the sky, vast, open, and unaffected by the passing clouds. The clouds may come and go, but the sky remains untouched. That is the kind of freedom detachment gives. In daily life, detachment can be practiced in simple ways. When someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of reacting with anger, detach and remind yourself that their behavior has nothing to do with you. When someone criticizes your work unfairly, instead of being consumed by it, detach and recognize that their criticism reflects their perspective, not your worth. When someone gossips about you, instead of wasting time defending yourself, detach and trust that truth always reveals itself in time. Each small act of detachment strengthens your shield of inner peace. There is also a great deal of joy that comes from detachment. When you stop clinging to what others say or do, you create space for happiness. You are no longer drained by negativity, and you have more energy for the things that truly matter. Your growth, your purpose, your relationships, your passions. Detachment gives you clarity to see what is important and courage to let go of what is not. It is like clearing the clutter from a room so you can finally breathe. Over time, detachment becomes a way of life. You begin to carry yourself differently. You speak less but with more meaning. You engage with people, but you are no longer enslaved by their opinions. You encounter challenges, but you no longer collapse under them. People will notice this quiet strength in you. They may even try harder to provoke you, but you will find that their attempts no longer disturb you. Your peace has become unshakable because you have learned to guard it with the shield of detachment. It is important to remember that detachment does not mean you stop caring about others. It means you stop letting their actions destroy your inner balance. You can still love, help, and support, but you do so from a place of strength rather than dependency. You give freely without expecting, you care deeply without clinging, and you stand firm without being dragged into chaos. This is the maturity that detachment brings, and it is one of the most powerful tools for living a peaceful life. In moments of conflict, the natural instinct for most people is to respond with anger. When someone raises their voice, we raise ours higher. When someone attacks our character, we defend ourselves with sharp words. This cycle of reaction feels satisfying in the moment, but it leaves behind a trail of regret, tension, and broken relationships. Anger feels like fire. It consumes quickly and spreads destruction wherever it touches. But there is another path, a path that requires strength, patience, and wisdom, the path of empathy. Choosing empathy over anger does not mean allowing others to mistreat you. It means recognizing the deeper story behind their actions and choosing to respond in a way that preserves your peace and dignity. Every human being carries struggles that are invisible to the eye. The person who shouts at you may be overwhelmed by stress at work. The one who cuts you off in traffic may be rushing to a hospital. The colleague who criticizes you harshly may be battling insecurity or fear of failure. On the surface, their actions seem offensive, but underneath, there is always a reason, always a wound, always a story. Anger looks only at the surface and reacts blindly. Empathy looks deeper, understands, and responds wisely. When you replace anger with empathy, you shift from judgment to compassion, and in that shift, you protect both your peace and your humanity. Empathy is not weakness, it is one of the greatest forms of strength. Anyone can react with anger, but it takes strength to pause, to breathe, and to ask, what might this person be going through? That pause is powerful. It interrupts the cycle of conflict and allows space for understanding. It allows you to see the humanity in others even when their behavior is unkind. This does not excuse bad behavior, but it gives you perspective that prevents you from being consumed by it. Instead of fueling conflict, empathy disarms it. Instead of building walls, empathy builds bridges. Think of the times when you yourself have acted out of frustration. Perhaps you spoke harshly to someone because you were tired, stressed, or hurting. Later, you wished you had behaved differently. If you look back honestly, you will realize that your actions in those moments did not reflect your true self. They reflected your temporary state of mind. In the same way, when others act out, it is often a reflection of their struggles, not their essence. By remembering your own imperfections, you gain compassion for theirs. Empathy comes from recognizing that we are all human, all flawed, and all fighting battles unseen. When you choose empathy over anger, you also protect your energy. Anger is exhausting. It drains your mind, elevates your stress, and leaves you restless long after the incident is over. But empathy has the opposite effect. It calms you, grounds you, and gives you clarity. You walk away not with a heart full of resentment, but with a mind that understands. You carry no heavy burden because you did not allow anger to poison you. This is not just emotional wisdom, it is also practical wisdom, because protecting your peace means preserving your focus, your health, and your ability to move forward without being dragged into unnecessary battles. Empathy also transforms relationships. In families, workplaces, and friendships, conflicts are inevitable, but empathy can turn conflict into connection. Imagine a heated argument where instead of raising your voice, you listen. Instead of focusing on proving yourself right, you focus on understanding the other person's feelings. That act of listening changes everything. People soften when they feel understood. Even the harshest words can lose their edge when met with calm acknowledgement rather than retaliation. By choosing empathy, you shift the dynamic from confrontation to collaboration, from enemies to allies. Of course, empathy does not mean you allow yourself to be mistreated. It does not mean tolerating abuse or disrespect. It means responding from a place of strength rather than reaction. You can still set boundaries, but you do so calmly, not angrily. You can still say no, but you say it with dignity, not hostility. Empathy allows you to be firm without being cruel, strong without being harsh. It allows you to walk away from toxic behavior without carrying bitterness in your heart. That is true power, the ability to protect your peace while maintaining your humanity. The practice of empathy requires self-control. It is easier to let anger take over than to pause and look deeper. But every time you choose empathy, you build that muscle of self-mastery. You train your mind to rise above immediate impulses and act from a higher place of wisdom. Over time, this becomes second nature. You begin to naturally look beyond people's actions and see their pain, their fear, their insecurity. Instead of reacting, you start responding. Instead of fighting, you start understanding. This habit makes you not only more peaceful but also more respected, because people recognize the calm strength in you. There is a story about a wise elder who was once insulted by a villager. Instead of reacting with anger, the elder invited the man to sit and asked about his struggles. The villager, surprised, eventually broke down and admitted he was angry at life, not at the elder. That simple act of empathy transformed hostility into trust. This story illustrates that most people's anger is not truly about us, it is about them. If you meet their anger with more anger, you only add fuel to the fire. But if you meet it with empathy, you extinguish it. Empathy also requires humility. Anger often comes from ego, the belief that we must defend ourselves at all costs, that we cannot let others get away with disrespect, that we must win every battle. But humility reminds us that not every battle is worth fighting, that preserving peace is more important than proving a point. Empathy is the ability to set aside ego long enough to see the bigger picture. In the long run, people remember kindness more than they remember arguments. They remember how you made them feel, not how loudly you defended yourself. Practicing empathy in daily life begins with small choices. When someone snaps at you, instead of snapping back, take a breath and consider that they may be under stress. When someone cuts in line, instead of reacting angrily, consider that they may be in a hurry for reasons you don't know. When a coworker criticizes you, instead of being defensive, consider that their words may come from their own fears. This shift in perspective does not excuse their behavior, but it protects your peace. It gives you the freedom to respond wisely instead of reacting blindly. Empathy also deepens your understanding of the human experience. The more you practice it, the more you realize that people's actions are shaped by their upbringing, their environment, their struggles, and their pain. You begin to see the world with softer eyes. You stop expecting perfection from people and start accepting them as they are. This acceptance brings you peace because you no longer waste energy fighting reality. You understand that everyone is doing the best they can with the tools they have, and this understanding makes it easier to forgive, to release, and to move forward. The beauty of empathy is that it not only transforms how you see others, but also how others see you. People are drawn to those who radiate calm and understanding. They feel safe with you, knowing that you will not react harshly to their mistakes. This builds trust, and trust strengthens every relationship. Whether in personal life or professional life, empathy is the foundation of lasting connections. It makes you a better friend, partner, leader, and human being. Another important truth about empathy is that it heals. Anger deepens wounds, but empathy closes them. When someone is hurting and lashes out, your anger adds to their pain, but your empathy can soothe it. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone is not advice or correction, but simply understanding. Just the act of being seen and heard with compassion can begin the process of healing. And in giving empathy to others, you also heal yourself, because compassion lightens the burden of resentment and fills your heart with peace. In the grand journey of life, the moments you will cherish most are not the ones where you won an argument or proved someone wrong. They will be the moments where you chose love over conflict, understanding over judgment, empathy over anger. These are the moments that shape your character and leave a legacy of kindness in the hearts of others. Life is too short to be wasted in anger. Every day spent in anger is a day stolen from joy. Empathy ensures that you do not lose those days. It ensures that you live with clarity, peace, and strength, no matter what challenges come your way.